That's right. No particular reason. Just whatever.
Good evening, welcome everyone. Mr. Morgan, you're filling in for City Manager Smith this evening.
I am. City Manager Smith is back in the Midwest and driving the whole family back over to Oregon now.
Okay.
Fun times.
Family vacation. Any changes that we need to make this evening?
Not at this time.
Okay, so first up on our agenda is a presentation from Amazon. Kaylee Davis, welcome.
Good evening. Thank you so much for the opportunity to be here and present tonight. I just wanted to take a minute just to share a little bit of background about myself and then share some of the updates as well. So, Kaylee Davis, I'm on the economic development team for Amazon Web Services and my role is external affairs. I do live down the road in the big city of Echo, Oregon, and so have lived in Umatilla County, I think all but 3 years of my life. So this is home. Prior to AWS, I led workforce development initiatives for the Port of Morrow for a number of years. And so as part of that role, my job was to work with students and Eastern Oregon residents to help connect them with jobs that were a good fit for them in the region. And that's really how I got connected with AWS to begin with. And so what I wanted to do today is just share some updates on 2 projects that were recently completed and also a couple of other updates with you that might be helpful to know or for you to share with other people that might benefit as well. But before I kick it off to the video, I just wanted to share I was here in February when the Hermiston Historical and Cultural Society was here presenting, and I'm a huge lover of that I did not know, but also it was really rewarding for me to hear about some of the recent history and how AWS and data centers have played a role in that. And so I know that's something that I'm really excited about and our team is very proud of as well. So this first project is actually part of a docuseries that kicked off last summer. One of the things that we have not always done a good job of is talking about our collaboration with small businesses and with education in the region. And so this docuseries was really set up to help highlight those partnerships. And this one in particular is really meaningful to me. It's about our partnership with Blue Mountain Community College and the Data Center Technician Program. And so this started years ago as we started growing the region. And there was a need to increase the number of people who could work in and have that data center technician background or facilities background. And so this program's been incredibly successful. The classes are actually taught here in Hermiston as well as Boardman. And they've had a tremendous success for students completing this program and going on to work here locally. So with that, I'm going to thank Lily and Mark and
I'm looking for at first is I'm looking to make sure that the wires are in the right order. My philosophy is, let's throw you in the deep end and let's see what you're capable of. That first day of class is just always a day that I look forward to because I'm going to be meeting these students that I'm going to get to know. What I love about teaching is seeing that spark from my students. If it's going right, I'm learning something from the students and they're asking me questions that I don't know the answer to. We created this program in partnership with Amazon Web Services. Amazon came to us and they said, we expect over the next 3 to 5 years that we're going to be hiring a ton of technicians for our data centers. I wanted to design this program so that it would prepare students to work in these jobs as best as I knew how. And that we were designing it for the tasks they would actually perform on the job in as practical and pragmatic a way as possible. What they want to have is something that they find meaningful, where they have some chance to advance themselves, not just in their career, but in their lives. So for the last few years, AWS has very generously funded a total of $50,000 of scholarships for all of our students. And this last year, they doubled that scholarship amount. So that's a total of $100,000 split between all of our students.
I heard about this program through my father, so I gave it a shot. I didn't really have a lot of hardware or networking experience, and so it was sort of like drinking from a fire hose, but they made it a little bit easier to understand. Pete was one of my instructors. Me and Taylor were in the same course for the same year.
From what I've seen, everybody but one person in our group that completed the program has ended up in some sort of IT role.
Do you think anything from the program helped you get where you are right now?
Oh yeah, none of it would have ever been possible without going through the program. And kept me focused on learning more and more about tech. And you and I would have never talked to each other outside of that, and now we're coworkers.
The most valuable thing that I think I got from it was how much Pete talked about meeting people and the attention we put on interviewing, because a lot of times people ask, could you help me get a job?
One of the things about going in a data center is just seeing the extraordinary scale that AWS works at. It's almost just boggles the mind. A couple years ago, I was taking a sabbatical and I thought, well, I need to make sure that I actually know what goes on in a data center. And so I went to work as a contract employee at a foot in the door job that many of our students get. And it reaffirmed my commitment to teaching hands-on skills.
Pete would be great at our job, hands down, right? But he doesn't want to do our job. He wants to be a teacher.
No, it's an interesting talent person to be able to take all of those different personalities and different skill sets, different backgrounds, and help them all succeed.
I can't imagine what the program would look like without Pete.
Hearing about your success, it's always one of the best parts of doing this.
It's been a pretty cool journey to go from not knowing what a data center was, not knowing much about hardware or software aspects of IT, and have a somewhat successful career given my experience in education.
My advice to you is just to stick with this. There are parts of this program that I know for sure will really be tough. So there's that assignment, it's due today.
This is like a month into the course, and then I'm kind of like panicking, like, oh my gosh, am I gonna pass? Am I gonna get job fails on? In the end, I'm just trying to stick with it and just focus on what I gotta do. I think it's a great opportunity to start a career. Now that I've heard about it, I'm kind of telling people, hey, if you guys are looking for something to do, you should come check this out.
I was going to school here originally in the medical field, and then I see flyers around the whole class experience, and it's been challenging, and I like the challenge. Anxiety and accomplishing things, it's been I did that.
I remember one student, he would say, what I really want is just a career that's going to make my family proud. And he had a couple young kids at the time, and I ran into him at the data center. He had gone from a dead-end job to really a career where he had achieved what he set out to do. And so for me, and I'm sorry this is such an emotional topic, but that for me is what this work is all about. So when I think about students who achieve that, and that's what I'm most proud of.
Thank you. I love it as much as you do. There's nothing better than seeing people connect with a job they really love. And so in addition to the data center technician program, there's also the industrial systems technology program that's more focused on the facilities roles as well. And so that scholarship program that Pete mentioned is actually opened up to both programs as well. And then in addition to that, we just have continued to collaborate with BMCC trying to fill the need of local jobs here in the area. And one of those is actually not always directly AWS jobs, but fiber related positions in the area. And so we've worked really hard to partner on short-term training. We've done actually 3 different fusion splicing workshops here at BMCC. There are two-day workshops. They're completely free, and so we just completed our last one in June. But the goal is to just introduce that to residents in Eastern Oregon who are looking for those jobs, and then connect them with employers in the region who I know Mark would tell you are continuing to hire and look for more people. So it's been a great collaborative project. So but before I talk a little bit about this next project that was recently completed, I just wanted to share we also have our 2023 ChangeX Community Fund that actually launched this last week. We started this last year, and it was a good opportunity just to help support individuals and organizations in the community who are doing really, really great work. And so this is open up to anybody in Umatilla County who's interested in applying. The grant process is we've tried to make it about as easy as possible. It really doesn't take a long time to do this grant application. But anything from STEAM education, supporting homelessness, we've had grants for the Hermiston Downtown Association. We've had a mobile thrift shop that's here supporting some of the vulnerable communities, and so that's something we're really, really proud to help support. And so if you know of an organization or an individual doing great work here in Hermiston, we have an information session tomorrow actually at BMCC in Hermiston from 12 to 1, so would love to have them come. They don't have to participate in that in order to apply. I'm happy to send more information to anybody that's interested, but just wanted to make sure that you guys knew that that was open for this year, and it's not going to close until September 1st, and so there's lots of time for people to apply. And then also just along the same lines, we're so proud of our AWS and communities team in the area. We have AWS ambassadors. In 2022, they volunteered over 2,300 hours back to the community here in Eastern Oregon. And so you'll see them in schools, you'll see them at Umatilla County Fair, you'll see them all over the place, and that's something we're really proud of. And the reason why I bring that up is there's a lot of organizations who might not be familiar with that program or the opportunity to request volunteers. And so if there's any organizations or events that you can think of that would benefit from volunteers, please let us know, and we're happy to make sure they're aware of those opportunities. And then finally, this is a project that's very near and dear to my heart. Just wanted to share some highlights from this report that was just completed. We actually kicked it off in December of this year. You'll have the full report in front of you, as well as a community impact and fiscal analysis to go along with that report. But I just wanted to take a couple of minutes and share some highlights, and then if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer questions as well. And this is where I forget I have the clicker here. Thank you so much. So just wanted to take a step back before I highlight a couple of AWS employees from Hermiston and just do a quick overview of the cloud and cloud computing. So most of us are familiar with the cloud. If you've got your phone and you're looking at the weather, or you're watching Netflix, all that information has to be stored somewhere. And so that's stored on the cloud. But cloud computing is actually something that AWS started as a business. When everybody's familiar, Amazon got started as a bookstore and started selling more goods. And so they needed that server space and storage in order to expand what they were selling. And as they were expanding those services and goods that they were selling, they got really efficient about storing that information. And what they realized is they can actually sell that to individuals, to governments, to businesses at a much less expensive cost and a more efficient way than each individual or business that needs to purchase their own equipment. So they can literally have a startup and just need a little bit of space and then grow as their company grew. And so that's really how cloud computing started as a business for AWS. And from there, we're really looking for opportunities to grow their data center presence. And so in Eastern Oregon, it was a great fit for AWS. We're actually the second largest cloud region in the US after Virginia. And since November 2011, we've invested over $15.6 billion in capital investment. And as of 2021, over 4,700 jobs have been created or retained. And that's something that I'm really excited about. It's not always just specific AWS jobs, it's also about the ripple effect to organizations and businesses in the community as well. And then as of 2021, we've contributed over $41 million in tax and fee payments. And if you are looking at the fiscal fact sheet in front of you, you'll notice that as of 2022, that's actually increased to $48 million. And then we're also the largest taxpayer in Umatilla and Morrow County. And as great as that information is, and as much as we're proud of those investments, I think for us it was really important to take a look at information beyond the large investments and how does this directly impact residents that live in Eastern Oregon. So this is two of our members from the research and analysis team, Daniela and Mofong. They were here in December, and the reason why I put their pictures up here, not just because they're incredible individuals and brilliant, but because I just wanted to share a little bit about how this report was done. They were actually here in December for an entire week. They met with Mark, they met with different partners around the region, and the whole purpose of that was just to learn, what does this infrastructure and growth in Eastern Oregon, what does this really look like for Eastern Oregon residents, both good and bad, and how can we do a better job? And so they did an absolutely phenomenal job collecting this information for us. And as part of that work, we inadvertently kind of ran into a couple of AWS employees who were really just scheduled to give us a tour of a data center. And from those conversations, it was just incredible to hear their personal stories. So I just wanted to share 3 different stories from AWS employees who actually live here in Hermiston. And we'll start with Ray. So Ray's from Hermiston, Oregon. He's a Hermiston, Oregon graduate and had moved away from the region, but came back here actually from a relationship, makes sense, brought him back to Hermiston, Oregon. And so he worked for a local retail chain and made $13 an hour after 7 years of working there. And since joining AWS in 2016, he started off as a temporary employee making $20 an hour. He was doing excellent at his role, was asked to participate in a manager training program. He was promoted to manager of data center operations in 2021. And since he started, he's actually tripled his annual income while being with AWS. And because Ray's words are much better than my own, just wanted to share from Ray that there was not a lot of income growth before AWS, but that changed once he started his data center career. We were able to buy a house last summer and can now afford to pay private therapists for members of our family who needed long-term healthcare support. This job has helped break generational curses for my family. Upa's story, incredible woman. She lives also here in Hermiston. Prior to AWS, she was raising her 2 young daughters and worked as a certified nursing assistant. She joined AWS in 2019 and actually went through the BMCC Data Center Technician program that we just highlighted. And she worked her way up to data center technician, from data center technician to a data center operations lead. And in Upa's own words, I was the only woman in my cohort, and this was a totally different field for me. With no previous background in IT, I thought I was not going to be able to make it. The mentor I was assigned to was really patient, and I soon started building both my skills and confidence. The BMCC program taught us the basics about computers, servers, security, and networking. I've been expanding that knowledge at work ever since. The field is changing so fast, and you're constantly learning new things. It's not like other jobs where you would do the same tasks every day. It's been incredible to see Upa also mentor other women who have gone into that field and help give them guidance. And finally, Ben also grew up here in Hermiston, and prior to AWS, he worked in construction and as a forklift operator. He got his foot in the door working security for a local contracting company, where he learned about the AWS Grow Our Own Talent program. And that's one of the things that you'll hear. There's a number of security roles here, but that's a lot of times how people get their foot in the door, learn about additional pathways to employment, and so that was Ben's experience. So he joined AWS in 2019 as an entry-level data center technician, and now he's a data center operations lead and responsible for operating and maintaining specialized equipment here. And finally, in Ben's own words, when I started working as a data center employee, I found myself more and more able to significantly contribute to my family. I could pay for entire family trips and help my kids and ex-wife more than I ever could before. My son and youngest daughter are now able to concentrate on school instead of having to get a job to pay for their extracurricular expenses. Working with AWS has been the single best thing in our lives, both monetarily and otherwise. And so, as much as these stories are very impactful for me and something that I just get really excited about, it's also just as important to share information about how to access these jobs. We get asked that question on a regular basis. We hear about data center employees, the types of jobs, and so what I wanted to do is just share a little bit more about the types of jobs that are available here, as well as how to access those positions if anybody's interested. So a little bit more about the type of roles that are here. A lot of times people associate IT roles with cloud computing. So solutions architect, software developer. So those roles are fantastic positions, but those are any positions that can mostly be done remote. And so here in our region, we're focused more on cloud infrastructure roles. And so that's those positions in construction, electricians that help build the data centers, as well as operations that help with data center technician roles or facilities roles. That's the data center engineering operations technicians. Connecting the data centers, we talked about a little bit about the fusion splicing workshops here, so fiber splicers and fiber techs, and then also power positions as well. So those are the types of positions that we're actively looking for here in Eastern Oregon. And then pathways to employment, we highlighted already the Blue Mountain Community College programs, the Data Center Technician Program and Industrial Systems Technology Program. But we also know that it's not feasible for everybody to go back to school full-time. And so we also have a program called Grow Our Own Talent Program. And that's set up very similar to an apprenticeship program where you have 12 weeks paid on the job training. And if you successfully complete that 12-week training, then you're automatically offered a full-time position. And then a program that I'm most excited about as well is internship opportunities, where young people who live, love, want to come back to Eastern Oregon are able to go continue their education and come back and get some great experience here locally. So data center manager roles, technician roles if they're at BMCC, or maybe another trade school, engineering operations roles, and then also data center security. And so what's great about these is that they are from Hermiston, they're continuing their education and come back and get an internship, and they successfully complete that internship, they're automatically offered a full-time position when they're done with school. Oops, I think I went wrong. Oh, there we go. I was so close. The next slide was, thank you. The next slide was just any questions that you have, and I will be the first to admit that I'm not an expert on all things data centers, but if you have any questions that I can't answer today, I'm happy to find more information for you or connect you with somebody that will help me answer. So with that, if you have any questions, I'm happy to help answer those questions. I do want to share that one of the docuseries videos also highlights some other Hermiston AWS employees, and so if you're interested in seeing any of those other docuseries videos, I'm happy to send them to you as well.
Okay. Council, questions? Kaylee, thank you tonight for coming and giving us an updated presentation from Amazon. You've been a great community partner. I think one of our roles as elected officials within the community is to try and work on economic development that brings good paying jobs to our community, helps lift our communities out of poverty, and hopefully provides them an opportunity and pathway to success in the future. And Amazon is helping with that. And so I appreciate all that Amazon's doing for our community and providing good paying jobs. I have to declare a little bit of conflict of interest as my son was employed at Amazon, and it allowed him to come home and get a job here that he can now not live in my house. So I'm happy about that. So thank you for that. You know, you guys have taken a little bit of heat because originally when you came in here it was the company known as, you know, whatever. And it was not to be known as, you know, it's kind of like, what was that movie?
Shall not be named.
Yeah, the, whatever. Anyway, Harry Potter.
Great analogy.
Yeah, and so, you know, we were kind of hidden, and now you're such a big presence in our area, you kind of have to be, right? You have to be known. And you're kind of getting beat up across the state, you know, for water and electricity usage and carbon footprint and all that sort of stuff. And so I appreciate the fact that you're trying to share your story more, because I think it's a really good story to share, and it's a valuable piece of your success for the future, and continue to get community buy-in, state buy-in, legislative buy-in, government buy-in. All those things are important for the success of you in our region in the future. So I hope it's not too little too late. I hope this is a continued presence, because we need you in our communities. We need you giving back. I think the community is giving you a lot as well, and you're obviously providing a lot of benefit to your employees. You know, but those employees come at a significant cost to the rest of us as well, right? Because all of our wages had to go up to compete with you. And so, you know, as a big player in this marketplace, I appreciate the fact that you're looking to partner with community organizations and give back to those organizations, because, you know, as we've seen in the past with large corporations, when they enter communities, they often strip out all the small businesses because they can't compete. And so I don't want to see that happen to all the small businesses in our community. And all those small businesses are the communities, or the businesses that sponsor our Little League teams, right? And so continuing to have those resources in our community, and I appreciate Amazon's willingness to step up to the plate and do more. Because it's been missing, frankly, and I appreciate the fact that you guys have recognized that and are trying to be better stewards of your community and the community that's given to you as much as you're giving to us. So I thank you for that. Are there ways that we can do better to help work with you and get the word out about all the good stuff that Amazon Web Services is doing?
Yeah, absolutely. I really appreciate that. And I just want to be clear too, coming and presenting today is not just supposed to be one-sided. It's also supposed to be an opportunity to listen and learn how we can do a better job as well. So if not today, I'm happy to meet with anybody that has additional questions. But I think the biggest thing for us is helping to get the word out. That's one of the reasons why it's not just about highlighting current AWS employees. It's about sharing career pathways for any students or anybody that's interested. So I would ask please to share that information with anybody that might be interested, but also the ChangeX Fund, volunteerism. Even if they're just wanting additional information, we can help support that. And again, I think for us just to listen and learn how we can do better. Yeah.
Yes, Councilor Peterson.
So I didn't see anywhere up there where you mentioned the, what are they called, the Think Big spaces?
Yeah.
That was mine.
Oh, that's awesome. So I have a little bit of background. We're all familiar with 2020 and some of the challenges that year, but because all of the programs that I worked on at the time came to a standstill, I actually got to put in a proposal for a Think Big Space at the Sage Center, and that was really my first interaction with Think Big Spaces, and it's been incredible to see those programs. Selfishly, I have a son who is a huge STEAM kid, and so just being able to see those programs across our school districts in Eastern Oregon has been incredible, and it's great to hear from the kids themselves about being able to go and have some fun, and we get to disguise it as learning. So thank you for sharing that.
You know, we also worked pretty hard this year to, you guys are just getting beat up left and right down in the legislature, and communities like ourselves, you know, Umatilla County, Morrow County, have really received a lot of benefit from you guys, and hopefully you recognized all the hard work and effort that we put in legislating for you and advocating for you, and got some great extensions in the enterprise zones. There's a couple changes there, but that was a big win for our community and our region, because I think those are valuable to you, and that's why you continue to come to us as well. And so I think that was a great partnership, as well as continuing to find water and electricity resources, and we continue to partner with you on that. So thank you for all your hard work, and know that we're out there trying to fight hard for you guys as well.
Appreciate it. Really appreciate that. And we've seen across the board, you guys know this, but your staff here is second to none, and
Right.
just, yeah, the advocacy and partnership's been incredible. So thank you again.
Any other comments, councilors? Well, thank you for the wonderful
Thank you so much.
presentation.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, now we move on to citizen input. This is the first opportunity on tonight's agenda for non-agenda items. So if there's something you would like to talk to the council about, please come up to the microphone up front, introduce yourself by name and address, direct your comments to me, and try to limit them to less than 5 minutes. All right, no takers. We'll move on to consent agenda items A through D. Does the council need to pull any of those?
I'd like to pull C.
Okay, pulling C. Any others? Okay. Any public comment on consent agenda items A, B, or D? Okay, seeing none, can I get a motion to approve consent agenda items A, B, and D?
So moved.
Second. Moved by Council Kerner, second by Councilor McCarthy, that we approve consent agenda items as presented for A, B, and D. Roll call.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes. Motion passes unanimously, 7-0. Vote number C, Councilor Kerner.
Yeah, I just want, anytime we do an annexation, I just like to hear a little bit more about it as opposed to just letting it slide through, so.
Absolutely. Mr. Morgan.
And ask Mr. Spencer if you could add a little bit on that.
Yeah, in this case, we received a petition for annexation from a
Mr.
property.
Turn your mic. Or speak into it. A little closer.
I guess I'm not close enough.
There you go, thank you.
Yeah, we received a petition for annexation for an emergency sewer connection for a property that's on Southeast 9th Street. Tonight, you're just considering telling staff to go ahead and start the annexation proceedings and then scheduling hearings, most likely in September. But really, this is a failed septic issue, so we like to move those forward as quickly as possible.
Okay, so I just, those are the type of things that, I like to have a little bit more information and to the public as well.
Absolutely. Any other questions, Council? Any public comment on consent agenda item C? Okay. Can I get a motion to approve the initiation annexation proceedings on 910 West Andes Avenue? Who said that? Councilor Harden moved. Councilor Berner seconded. Roll call.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes. Motion passes unanimously. All right, we're going to move on to adoption of ordinance number 2347, created in North Hermiston urban renewal area. Well, you probably have some notes here for me, don't you? I'm not reading off them. Thank you. Assistant Manager, Mr. Morgan.
So this is the same issue that came for you at the last city council meeting where we presented the staff report, and so we're asking for adoption this evening.
Okay. Is there any public comment about ordinance number 2347?
I have a question. Is this the one where we were asking about, I was asking about the 5 million loan and the 8 million difference?
That is correct. This is exactly the same issue that was at our last meeting, and tonight we do have Elaine Howard on Zoom, who is able also to answer questions. But basically, and she can back me up on this and flesh out my answer a little bit, but the additional money is basically interest that would come off of any borrowing, takes it up to about $6.5 million. And then if there's such a thing as an early payment, then that early payment adds to the overall indebtedness. But Elaine is available to also help answer that question.
Elaine, was that pretty accurate for Mr. Spencer? Can you hear us?
I can hear you, so let me just reiterate that we did have a change in the tables to make sure that they were correct, so that information has been changed out. So in those tables, the early payment is because it is projected to be, there is projected to be a 20-year loan, but your urban renewal area only needs to go 16 years. So there's an early principal payment so that you have the full amount of the principal paid by the time the area is expected to terminate after that 16 years.
Okay, did it go down? I think I looked in there and it had went down to like 7 million or something.
Yes. Yeah, it went from 8 to 7.6, I believe.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, we're still at the public comment section. Are there any members of the audience that would like to make a public comment? Okay. Any questions from the council about what we're doing tonight? Any other questions? No? Okay. The mayor requests first reading of the ordinance be read by title only and calls for a roll call. Roll call.
Yes.
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 Yes. Mr. Tubman?
First reading of ordinance number 2347, an ordinance making certain determinations and findings relating to and approving the North Hermiston Urban Renewal Plan and directing that notice of approval be published.
Mayor requests that the ordinance be put on for final adoption at this meeting and second reading be by title only and calls for roll call. Roll call.
Yes.
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 Motion passes unanimously. Mr. Tubman?
Second reading by title only of ordinance number 2347, an ordinance making certain determinations and findings relating to and approving the North Hermiston Urban Renewal Plan and directing that notice of approval be published.
Thank you, Mr. Tubby. Any other questions by the council about ordinance number 2347? Okay, can I get a motion that ordinance number 2347 be adopted and become effective 9 days after adoption by the city council?
So moved.
Second.
Councilor Barone moved, second was Councilor Myers. That ordinance number 2347 be adopted and become effective 90 days after adoption by the city council. Roll call.
Yes.
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 Yes. Motion passes unanimously. Mr. Morgan, when is that due to start?
Mr. Spencer may be able to answer that a little bit better on as far as the timing of when the revenue begins to accrue, and then after that, when the actual project work would begin.
Yeah, the revenue will begin to accrue right after the tax rolls are assessed here this November. And then we will start preliminary engineering and right-of-way acquisition probably right around first of the year.
Okay. And that's slated for development in 25?
I would think, yeah, probably 25, 26
Okay.
for when it will actually see dirt turning.
Yeah, so just so the community is familiar, if you haven't been following this process along, this is the old CMB feedlot, the golf course property, right? No.
This would be,
This
that
is
would be
North
the
Hermiston,
southwest
none of
one.
mine.
Yes.
Yeah, this is,
North Hermiston, not
this
South
is the
Hermiston.
Campbell Motors firm.
This is where the new emergency medical facility is going in on the old Campbell Toyota lot.
Yes.
Yes, gotcha. Thank you for keeping me straight. All right, June 2023 financial report. Mr. Morgan?
Yes, I defer to Mr. Krosick.
Mr. Kay?
Mr. Mayor, Council, thank you for having me talk to you today about how we end up June 23. You'll notice every slide is
Can you
split
hold my
there.
phone a little closer, Mr. Kay? Thank you.
We have auditors on site to audit the year. There will be year-end adjustments. What you see now is operations numbers as they were at the end of June. Our final annual report will show something different because of those year-end adjustments, because we're still paying bills from 23 here in July and period 13. One bit of news today that came out that I was surprised to see is that the Treasurer's Office has decided to raise the LGIP rate from 4.05% to 4.3%. So the monies we have with LGIP went up 25 basis points, and that's a good thing. So that's on the revenue side as far as interest. anymore. Why won't it advance? I swear. Can you go ahead and advance that for me? Because I'm curious as to whether or not this is working. It's just gonna kill me if I ever get this right the first time ever. It's on. There we go. Hura ended the year with $8,500 more in tax revenue than was projected, and I think that will be a trend that will go forward. We'll continue to project conservatively what the revenue from taxes would be in Hura, maintaining a very good position as we go into the new fiscal year. General fund resources, we have in excess over projected about $1.3 million in resources. Well, that's expenditures. Now I'm going too fast. We end the year with $1.3 million in additional resources above what was projected. I took the time to break that down by particular revenue class. We had $183,000 more in property tax collected. We had projected originally $40,000 in interest earnings. We exceeded that by a number in excess of $60,000. Plan review and inspection fees exceeded budget by $161,000. The construction permit fees exceeded budget by $210,000. And you can see this in some of the detail on the pages in the financial report. I just wanted to show you the impact. I identified $1,197,000 of revenues exceeding budget out of the $1,370,000. We had a very good year in that regard on the resource side. On the expenditure side, we experienced a total reduction below projection of almost $1,050,000 rather. City planning was down $25,000. Court was $200,000 less than projected. The library was $122,000. Police operations were over $250,000 below budget. We did very good on expense containment in those areas in the general fund, and I commend all the department managers for their efforts in that part that they played. Detail, we break down where we spend money in the general fund by whatever particular classification we have. Administration was 3% below budget. Public services like parks, library and such was down 6% below budget. Public safety was 6% below, and it produced basically $1.1 million in savings of projection versus actual expenditures. Man, this is just delayed. General fund balance, we end the year basically at $3,867,000 in the general fund. That is 1.7 times the minimum reserve. Next year, because we always predict 15% of the prior year's expenditures to be our reserve number, that will put us just over $2.5 million as our new reserve going into fiscal '24. That'll be a challenge for us. Utility and street funds, they all have ended the year before year-end adjustments in very good positions. We have the street fund, they're trailing and getting their state gasoline tax revenues. They're down 20%. I think it will still be below what we projected, but not quite by that much by the time year-end entries are done. They manage their expenses quite well. Utility fund and HES on both sides of the equation, revenue and expenditures, are well in control and under budget, over budget rather, as far as being below in expenditures and over in revenue. And the regional water fund, that's a continued issue as far as the resources we project, but expenditures are 20% below projected in that regard.
Mr. Kay, can I ask a question on that?
Yes, sir.
So the regional water fund, as far as the revenue part, we lost shears right? That cost us a lot of revenue from the water we were selling to shearers. As Amazon transitions onto that, will that help balance that back out?
Yeah, so we have a water supply agreement that we'll be finalizing with Amazon. We're slated to begin serving them with water September 27th of this year. And with the first 2 years of operation, we'll be supplying them with potable water for their cooling water needs. Long term though, that's where there's 2 phases of construction where they're expanding our infrastructure down there. They have to take potable water from us through the regional water system for these first 2 years. That second phase, which takes longer for them to complete, once that's done 2 years from now, then they'll start taking non-potable water, but that will be through entirely new infrastructure that they'll be supplying. So it'll be a big benefit back to the regional system to have them purchasing potable water from the regional system. It won't come anywhere close to replacing shears from that standpoint, just because of the amount of water that they'll be using is limited to just summertime rather than all year round like shears did. But it'll definitely be a good benefit to the system.
Thank you.
Mr. Morgan always has the details. And in that vein, we are to our capital projects updates that I would always depend on Mr. Morgan to give us the details, should there be any. The first one is the North First Place reconstruction.
Yeah, so this is for June, and so during June, the work continued, mainly focused on the water and sewer main replacement. Just to kind of give you a heads up, for next month's update, they're still working on the underground utilities on the water main piece. You may have noticed out there that there's a lot of boulders that came out of the ground, and you may have noticed a number of those boulders have big numbers spray painted on the side of them. So far we've encountered, I believe it's 142 boulders that are at least 3 feet in diameter. That's important because that was spelled out in the contract for each boulder that they encountered as they're going through trenching along. If it was larger than 3 feet in diameter, then that's $1,200 that we increase the cost that we pay them to remove that from the ground. So we knew that there was going to be some potential cobbles following this route going through there. That's why we included that in the contract. Again, that was something that all of the bidders knew when they bid on the contract. When you go out to projects like this, sometimes there's a lot of things that are unforeseen, and so you just have to recognize those and then square up later. The overall funding for the project, though, coming from particularly this one through the utility fund, that'll be covered by the water and sewer work that's underground. Other than that, everything's proceeding on budget and as planned. Yeah.
How many boulders?
I think it was 142 so far. They exceeded the 3 foot diameter. I don't know how many boulders they pulled out entirely because there's a lot of them out there. But yeah, so we worked pretty extensively with the contractor to look at seeing if there was ways we could reduce that cost for the per boulder. Ultimately, they had in their bid, they were going to be disposing of they had a disposal site and somebody was going to be hauling them away for them at no cost. And so a lot of that cost in the $1,200 per boulder was associated with just simply pulling it out of the ground.
We can't reuse those boulders in our landscape plan.
That's what we looked at. And
For that cost, that's a garden somewhere.
That's what we looked at. We could, but then we'd have to stockpile them somewhere. We'd have to place them somewhere. They already have somebody who's going to take them at no cost. So we would get no credit back for costs associated with that.
Well, if they don't take them far, could we sell them?
If you can sell them for $1,200 a piece.
There are people who
Yeah.
want that, yes.
Call them art.
Okay, any other questions on North First? Next one, the Gladys and Main water line replacement. So we had a design project kickoff meeting. So this is going to be a big project. So buckle up. This goes in Gladys, which is right here next to City Hall. Essentially from 3rd Street here, just the next intersection, will cross 4th Street all the way out to 7th Street. Again, as you can imagine, the downtown area is where some of the oldest water and sewer infrastructure is in town, and so that's one that's been on the capital improvement plan for a number of years, so we're just getting into the pre-design project now, and so probably looking at construction to be taking place next summer, but be prepared, more disruptions on the way. Next one, Penny Avenue extension. Again, if we're just looking at June, the contractor was finishing up everything for paving. I can give you a preview for the July update. They completed the paving the first week of July. Everything has proceeded well on that project. And so it's short of the minor final punch list items. That project is closed out and it's functional now if you go up there and want to drive on.
So you can drive through there now? It's
You can.
open? Yeah, okay.
And the last one is the AWS system expansion.
Yes, so this is, I kind of gave a highlight. So this is phase 1 of the water system expansions. This is the work that is extending the water main from First and Feedville to Kelly Boulevard and then tying in at Kelly and Penny to our existing potable water system. The contractor in June did all of the chlorination to make the system potable. Basically all that we have remaining now is making the final connection where we cross the U.S. Bureau of Reclamation's feed canal there just to the east of First Place. We couldn't go through there until the water was out of that canal. That canal is used to feed Cold Springs Reservoir, so there's no water in there in the summertime. So that work will be taking place here in August and early September to begin delivering water September 27th.
Mr. Morgan, I drove to Feedville the other day. It's starting to look pretty ugly.
Yeah.
Is that road going to be upgraded at some point?
The road itself, for the majority of the roadway, no, but the portion that we disturbed on the northern side, there will be asphalt rehabilitation that will be taking place here in the next couple of weeks.
Okay. Yeah. I'm concerned about the safety of that road, especially at 45 miles an hour.
Yeah.
Or more.
Yeah, when we went through, because we put the water main in on the north side of the roadway there, we cut into, depending on where it was along the length there, we did narrow up the paved surface slightly with some of that. So phase 2 of the project will now be on the south side of the roadway, so I'm sure there will be some disruption on the roadway surface with phase 2 as well.
Okay.
And with that, I'd be willing to stand any questions the council might have.
Council, any questions on the financial report? Councilor Lynn?
Yes. On page 6, you had made a comment about it might be difficult or something like that. And I just want you to elaborate a little bit for me because I didn't
I
quite
apologize,
understand.
Ms. Linton, I can't hear you very well.
Oh, I'm sorry. On page 6, I think you said that something might be difficult to do, and I would just want you to elaborate a little bit more so I can understand.
When I say difficult, our minimum reserve is 15% of the prior year's average expenditures, and that number comes out to $2.5 million is what we're going to hold as a cash balance. It will be a challenge to meet that number. We've had some very good numbers here at the end of this year, and we won't have a problem once we get to November and December when we get tax revenue. But from basically August, September, and October, those are where we dip down below because we don't have a continuing revenue stream to rely on other than the property taxes. We do some things to help us get through that. We do overhead allocations that we move for the first 6 months of the year in July. We do the HES in lieu of taxes payment in the first part of July to get us the revenue reserve up, but it bleeds down as we go through the end of the summer into the fall. It will be a challenge for us. I think we'll be able to get through it. It's going to be close. We will not have $1 million or $1.5 million extra in that regard going forward.
Okay, thank you.
Certainly.
Good question. So one question I had, Mr. Kay, has to do with your under projection on the revenue and I guess over projection on the expenses. If you add those two numbers together, I know it's early to speculate, that's $2,400,000.
Yes, it is.
And so we budgeted a $2 million shortfall this year.
Yes, we
And
did.
we're going to have to close that gap. Is this going to help us get there?
Yes, because we initially had the 2 million shortfall and ended up being 600,000. And that's where I say the issue will be as far as are we going to be able to maintain the cash reserve. I think we will. It will not be to the levels we have been through this past fiscal year. Because there's some months you can see we were $5 million on the balance in August last year and $4 million in September. I think they will still be healthy, not to that degree though.
Okay.
And quite honestly, we're in a good position because we had outstanding revenue streams for the year in all the service fees we charge beyond what we projected. I mean, my goodness, I would never have thought, if I look back at my numbers, I never would have thought that we could have generated $170,000 for reviews for Umatilla on plan reviews on a contract basis. Pooled income is up over $180,000 above projected as of the end of June. I don't know what July and August are going to show. Even the community center exceeded their revenues by $30,000 projected. So we had some very positive things here happen through the course of 23. I hope they carry through as we go into 24.
Well, fortunately, we happen to live in an area of the state that is being successful and continue to grow and add to our assessed value and continue with our growth in housing and development. So,
but we will always continue to be conservative on the revenue side and very conservative on the expenditure side.
that's good.
Mr. Burke? Yeah, I have a question. So, because it had come up in a lot of our other unhappy time here a little bit ago, this 15% that we maintain, is that based on the numbers of the monies that we have spent, including the federal funds?
It's 15% of the operating expenditures out of the general fund.
So that does include the federal funds that we received, that we have spent?
Yes, that we have spent through regular channels to the general fund. Yes, it does.
Okay, so the monies that we are no longer receiving
Affect that calculation.
affect
Yes,
that
sir.
number?
Yes.
Okay, just want to make sure I understood that correctly.
Other questions, Councilman? Yes, Councilman Pearson.
So, and please correct me if I'm wrong, I've noted that inflation appears to be slowing down nicely. That doesn't take away how much it had already inflated, and that part's not going away. At what point do you feel that we might be able to start looking at the areas of the budget where we squeeze a little bit and start saying, okay, we can start getting those things back? And the thing that comes to mind immediately is, law enforcement.
I will hope as we continue our journey department by department, as we've done the last couple of city council meetings, that we identify potential opportunities to produce a new revenue stream of some sort to support the general fund. Barring that, we will have to continue to rely on grants and things like that. There will be opportunities to look in depth at a number of different operations in the general fund. What is working well and what do we need to supplement, i.e. Hermiston Police Department. Those are discussions that need to happen as we move forward because we can't raise property taxes. We can just grow and add to the tax roll. Those are challenges in this environment.
Other questions, Council? Thank you, Mr. Kay. Any public comment on the financial report? Seeing none, can I get a motion to accept the June 2023 financial report as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Then moved by Councilor Middleton, second by Councilor McCarthy, that we accept the June 2023 financial report as presented. Roll call.
Yes.
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 Yes. Motion passes unanimously. We're on to committee reports. Any committee reports? Yes, who's first?
I'll take it.
Councilor
We have our Public Safety Committee meeting tonight, just prior to the City Council, where we receive updates from both the Police Department and the court. And several members of the PD showed up to be present for this. The basics of it showed that they're working hard at getting everything accomplished. There's been their increase in larceny, but for the rest of the part, everything is more or less dropping. We have their big three was well within expectations. The complaints, pursuits, and use of force, very, very good numbers actually, as far as I was concerned. It was mentioned that since Byron was brought on board, they've increased their training budget by 94%, which is a good number to have. A reminder that National Night Out is coming up on August 1st, as far as the police department is. And also in regards to one of the big ones that we ask the chief about frequently is in regards to transients, and they're still comprising 24% of the police department's call load. As for the court, they're chugging along, doing the best they can with what they got. The numbers that they're providing are uplifting. Last year they had 55,000 untaken care of cases, and they've got that number down to just over 3,000, which is a major undertaking, and they are to be way commended for that issue that they've worked their way through. Stuff that they're working on is, they provided numbers for the cases and the violations, and they're working at decreasing the time from offense to adjudication, from file. And right now they're focusing on the time of the cases have been filed as opposed to when actually the case occurred. But they have the court has no control over between the time that the offense occurred and the filing. And the police department, obviously, they're working to get that accomplished as well. Numbers, they went from 2021, length of time from filing to adjudication on violation cases was 30 days. 22 was 18, and 23 was 20, but that number has been, the reason for the actual increases is that the judge is actually giving the offenders a little bit more time to accomplish alternative means of rather than sentencing them immediately, giving them a chance to fix, like a fix-it ticket type thing, or giving them a chance to fix the issue as opposed to having to pay a huge fine for that. And again, that's to be commended as far as I'm concerned. And that's the real, very, very short version of 45 minutes of time. So I don't know whether either one of the chief or Jillian want to throw anything else out there. I hit it hard enough, I don't know.
Just on National Night Out, the battalion will be hidden tomorrow. Only one person at the police department knows where it's going to be, and then Tammy Malvizini from the paper will be told the location, and so clues should probably start coming out, I would assume, Thursday. So Thursday, Friday, Saturday, typically it's found within the first 2 days, but sometimes 3. And so I'll get information out specific to the night of National Night Out to the council tomorrow as far as time.
Okay. Yeah, I was thinking maybe Lily missed an email or something. 8/1 is a week from tomorrow.
Yeah.
Okay. Hopefully they find that medallion fast.
Usually do.
Yeah. All right, so typically we kind of meet down at the police station ahead of time. We all kind of go over on a fire truck to wherever the winter's hosted event is. So plan on that next Tuesday night, a week from tomorrow.
Excuse me?
Yeah.
You're talking about we as a council?
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's pretty good.
That's why he said.
I want to get clear. I just want to make sure I understand.
And you can ride on
You
a
get to
fire
hand
truck.
out ice
Ice
cream
cream
and ride on a fire truck or in a police car, yes.
If you're available, you don't have to. It's not a have to, but it's usually a fun event. So if you can make it, it's enjoyable.
And that's my, that's that report.
Okay. Any other committee reports?
I do have the Parks and Recreation report. It was a fairly short meeting. One of the good things that came out of it is construction should have started on the skate park today. I didn't get a chance to drive by to see if it did, so.
Did it?
I drive by.
It should be across. You're across the street.
Nobody knows.
See any big tractors working out there? Okay, and then on another good note, the Ford Foundation gave a $50,000 grant for Hermiston Park.
Whoa.
Yeah, and so that could very possibly afford us the monies that we have allotted for that to be covered, and possibly some bathroom facilities, which would be really great. Meanwhile, back at the pool, they've just had all sorts of issues, you know, starting right from the very beginning where the paint was late for the pool and it somewhat peeled off, and that was what was causing the foggy water. They got to the bottom of that issue, and then they had the issue of the glasses in the pool that someone stepped on, had to drain the pool. Thank you, Brian Fricky. Had to come all the way back from Joseph, Oregon to drain the pool and get it back up and running. I guess that Brandon's not here tonight, but I guess the Facebook post just went all over the place. He was corresponding, I only know a little bit about the story, he was corresponding with some people from Australia about this. It was just all over the place, and people from many, many different places. They had 340 splash passes sold, which is good. They're moving right along with that, but the real issue is their lack of the other supervisory personnel, which is the events coordinator. And it's just really, really made it hard on the only other two that they have. Kasia and Brandon are pretty much there all the time. They have basically had bare minimum for lifeguards, but they're making do and making it happen.
That's good. Good that we could do that, because it's been kind of hot.
I guess it has.
Having a pool during this time period is a huge benefit to the community. So thank you to Brandon and Kasha and all the lifeguards for making that happen.
They did a great job. I drove by last night on my way home, Sunday night at about, I don't know, it's been 5 o'clock, packed. Didn't look like there was a parking spot in the place.
Yeah, I get to view it every day, and it's always very busy. So. Riverfront Park is also up and open. Yeah. So congratulations on that. Long time coming. Nice story in the newspaper about that, so that was good. Very popular park down there, so it's good to have that fully accessible now. Any other committee reports? Yes, Councilor Brody.
I just wanted to provide an update. Our Recreation Projects Fund committee is meeting and extended the application. So that way, I think in light of us extending it for those two individuals, I think the application process was just remade open to be fair for all the other individuals that wanted to apply between now and then. And so next week, we should be able to meet and talk about that. I did also want to point out, I sat also on the Public Safety Committee, who was just in the audience, but I did notice one of the things that Chief brought up was that other agencies are becoming more competitive in compensating their employees. And so one of the biggest draws that we had as a community for a while, and still hopefully have right now, is the compensation package that we're able to provide to officers that are looking to move to here to Hermiston, Oregon. And so it looks like a lot of the regional entities, law enforcement agencies are stepping up. And so I know that's still kind of an ongoing conversation that we have for this next year's budget concerning public safety, but it's just another thing to know, especially when we have 4 bodies down and pay is looking lucrative, or at least competitive in other agencies. It's something that we should take a look at as a council.
Have we had a Hispanic advisory committee? Are you on the Hispanic advisory committee? Yeah, we have a committee meeting.
Typically during the summer, we don't meet. It's harvesting season, so we don't have a huge turnout, but we're looking to resume, I believe, in August, if not September.
I was just going to say, your committee member, Jose Garcia, just got appointed to the Loguam committee. Is that right? So, pretty big presentation, or a pretty big honor to have him serve on that task force, because that's an important part of how we in this region work with water in our community. So nice to have Jose as a part of that. So when you see him next, please pass along congratulations and thanks for his service.
Absolutely. I know we need Hermiston representation, but also it's great to have a community member, person of color that also has that perspective. We talked a lot about those high areas of concentration of nitrates, especially being in particular areas where there's a huge concentration of people of color. So it's great for him to be on the committee, to be able to share that the information that he has as being in leadership here in this community, and also just be able to get that information and bring it back down to our community as well. So I'll make sure to pass that on to him.
Well, maybe we could do something more formal, like draft a congratulations or thank you letter or something like that. That'd be awesome. He's doing good work in our community. All right, any other committee reports? Mayor's report. The only thing I have this evening, we had a League of Cities Small Cities meeting last week in Boardman. Good turnout, good representation. And just kind of a LOC priorities update as far as how their bills went. There was 8 priorities this last year, and kind of went through that measure, all the measures that they worked on in the legislative process. You know, it's still early afterwards, so they're still analyzing the outcomes of all that stuff, but the impression I got is there was a lot of frustration after this legislative session, and so trying to get a lot of our priorities through was a struggle this year. So did have some big accomplishments: housing dollars allocation, homelessness dollars allocation. We got, for us anyway, enterprise zone extension or some drought remediation dollars. So those are all big things for our region and our area. Hopefully you guys are going to be able to attend League Board. Well, nobody can attend League Board of Cities this year. So might have to look online to see those updates, legislative update. They do that on the website. Posted their review of this as well. So they did this in person, but you should be able to see it online as well. Also got expanded photo radar through the entire state, right, Chief? So photo radar for flash, or for lights, as well as speed, if I remember it. So for those communities that want to take it on. All right. Anything else, councilors? Any reports?
I just wanted to mention, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to mention that, I can't remember what it's called, but for the fire department, we're, to their standards, we're 12 short. It's some kind of national something, but I did write it down. I should have wrote it down.
12 short officers?
Yes.
Oh, fire safety officers, okay. That sounds good.
Well, if anybody's interested and the only one that's interested, maybe they can contact the fire department.
Yeah. Okay. Other council reports? Yes, Council Burrow.
Not a council report, just a question on the state of our LOC trips or training. And would it be possible, I believe LOC has a scholarship available, right? So if a counselor did want to participate, we could apply through the means of a scholarship.
Correct. Yes. Yep. And that scholarship program has expanded. There's more opportunity there too as well. That's pretty.
On top of your idea, is there like a Zoom one where like we could have a Zoom LOC party? I'm thinking like that could be epic.
Yeah, I don't know. Obviously, you wouldn't have the cost as far as travel.
Yeah.
You know, I would assume you'd still probably have the registration costs, but probably that.
Be something worth-
Lily, can we look into cost offsets, scholarships, that sort of stuff? Thank you.
I'll bring it up.
Any other council reports? Yes, Councilman McCarthy.
Borrowing on that, I believe also that we can still go just on our own dollars.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's what I believe was said in an email.
Okay.
Okay. But I do have a couple of other things.
Yes,
on
please.
the happier notes, just some things coming up. I attended the Hermiston Chamber Mixer on the 13th. The event at Botanical Gardens. The subject of that event, as it always is in July, is the fair and rodeo. Looks like it should be pretty exciting. I'll also just throw this out there that we just announced also that the Kids Baby Contest signups are open. So if you've got a baby 0 to 18 months, some of you have participated, sign up for the Next Chapter Bookstore. And then I know the fair parade's coming up, and some of you may have seen an email that Lily sent out today, and you've got some paper here about the PU Mattel County Fair Parade Party on August 5th. So I encourage you to attend that. And then right after fair, the very week after fair, the Saturday, August 19th, is Melon Fest right out here. That'll be 9 to 3. I believe they're still looking for vendors and still looking for people to sign up for the watermelon bathtub races, which is always fun. So I encourage everyone to show up.
Awesome, thank you. Lily, you'll be getting out information about the parade and our float and all that sort of stuff. Okay, thank you. Any other reports? Okay, no youth advisor here this evening. And manager report.
Well, I think the last time City Manager Smith was gone, we were out of here in 30 minutes. And so I'm big on statistics, so I want to keep my average low. So nothing to report.